Palace people. Now, for me, we lost. I mean, it feels like a loss against Crystal Palace, admittedly, people, for a couple of reasons. Obviously, we're 2 goals up. With 2 goals up, you walk away with a point, dropping 2. It's going to feel like that. I just don't feel the performance was there, man. I feel there's a lot of question marks, and there needs to be, rightly so, over Unai Emery. Offensively, what are we doing? I feel sorry for Ceballos because I don't feel Ceballos had a good game. But go and look at these are creative players, yeah. Why are they always having to come deep? There's problems with our build-up play. There's no intention to hurt the opposition when we play out from the back. There's no real intention to devastate teams. There's no real intention to play a forward pass, and everything comes to Emery. Emery has had 15 months to coach now. He's had 2 pre-seasons. Last pre-season is where he really should have got the building blocks as to what he wanted to do this season. Yes, there was injuries, but the signs were there. We were a shambles defensively in pre-season, regardless of who was fit and who was available. So we're a shambles now. You fail to prepare, you prepare to fail, and that's what Emery's done. Emery has tried to do everything and ultimately fix nothing. I want him to do well, but he can't. He's shown he is not the man. Coaching is a big part of this role. Whether you're going to nurture young players, which you're seeing reports now, there's discontent with a lot of players, and young players in particular have problems communicating with Emery. Probably why Lomberg was brought in. You got to be able to develop players. You got to be able to coach a philosophy. You got to be a nurturer, and I don't feel Emery is the guy to do that. I don't even know if he's the guy to be a stable pair of hands to allow us to fix up and get in that position. You've heard allegedly the board are happy with Emery, and last season they wanted to give him a new deal. These are reports that have come out from The Athletic today via David Ornstein, which I find a shambles. It cost $6 million to get rid of this guy, and it cost 45. Arsenal stand out on losing that if we do not get the Champions League. That is going to hurt owners' pockets, and that is a penny that drops firmly at the feet of Unai Emery. I do think Emery, I don't know, man. He's in a difficult position because when you look at how he's with Ozil and the Xhaka thing today, it's him who's going to get the blame, you know. The board might very much want to move Ozil on, but they're not going to get the blame for their treatment of him or whatever. It's Emery. So if Emery, regardless of what Emery does this season, he needs to realise he is the fall guy. Champions League is vital. This is probably the toughest period he's faced in his career, and I don't see him getting out of it purely because he shows no willingness. He's made Arsenal found a way to make us even more predictable than how it was in the last few years under Wenger. You know it's going to be stale. You know we're going to be woeful defensively. You know we're going to make it hard for ourselves. We can't sit here and waffle on about VAR, man. VAR needs to be fixed, innit? VAR did us dirty yesterday. Our blushes should have been saved, and Socrates should have scored a third. For whatever reason, it was disallowed. We've had how many penalties and shouts in general turned down now? They need to fix up VAR. We can sit here and talk about VAR denying us a goal, Callum Chambers penalty, and sit here and rightly so say if this didn't happen, if that didn't happen, it's a different game. But I tell the Arsenal fans that want to waffle on about that, I have to say, do you not get bored of that? How many games have we lost or whatever and we've said if this happened, if that happened, it wouldn't be this? I've heard even Arsenal players saying take away the 2 goals or take away the last few games at the end of the season, we have a good game. If there's no ifs and buts in life, there's only facts, there's no removing stuff. And this false sense of, I don't even know the right word, but it's like we live in a bubble sometimes. Emery lives in a bubble. I don't know what Emery's on. When you hear some of his comments post-game, it's nonsense. It is nonsense. Emery has shown he is not the guy. I want him to get it right so badly. I'd love to see it, but I don't see the building blocks. Rome wasn't built in a day. I'm sure many fans don't expect us to be whatever Emery's final project or projection for this team is, or just in general. But we've been in 15 months and we're not seeing a close fragment. He quickly made us able to play out from the back. So why can't he make us defend? Why can't he get the best out of us offensively? It doesn't matter if it's Mesut Ozil, Ceballos, or anyone with any creativity within that side. They're going to struggle. Look how deep the midfielders are getting. Because we don't have a plan when we're building from the back. On top of not being able to defend, it's disastrous. The players have to take responsibility, but ultimately a lot of this falls at the feet of Unai Emery. He is the manager. He's picked his swords to die on. He has not coached us to a degree where we can see evident change. And if this was Arsene Wenger, we'd be asking serious questions. And a lot of people shut up about it. And they told me I was hating, and they told me I was this when I gave him a 5 out of 10. And I questioned that. I've seen some good things from him, but there's many question marks. And this just shows how stupid football fans can be, man. They just want to shut up about narratives or quickly pick a position. When if you was looking at it objectively, these results or these performances have been in last season from the 22 unbeaten run. But the thing is, when it all goes right, people want to shut up about it. People want to find pillars to hide behind, talking about fight, intent. The lack of shots have been there. The half-time changes have been there. Making games continuously harder for ourselves than it needs to be. Fulham, Cardiff, Aston Villa this season, Bournemouth this season. It's an absolute joke. And I've had enough of Emery. I can't lie to you lot, people. I don't advocate for him to get sacked today or tomorrow. There are calls for that, and really and truly there's nothing to deny that. But to which I say, if we're going to sack a man, I don't necessarily want to write off this season, because regardless of how angry I am, we are 5th. We still can get top 4. If we can, and again, I don't like harping on about this ifs, but if everyone pulls together and stops dropping dumb points, we can have a stronger claim. Personally, I think it's gone, but it's still there. So if there's not a contingency plan in place to either give Longberg the job full time, or we're not talking to prospective new managers for Emery to go, then I'm not really on it. I'm not on sacking a man just because I don't think he's good enough. And then there's not really a plan, and then we're still in this bubble and we're oohing and ahhing and things. I'm not on that, people. Emery's shown he's not the man. He's shown he's not the man. And for me, he's got to question himself. I told you lot in previous vids, to be a success here, he's got to reinvent himself, because he is, as much as I feel the players make mistakes, he is his own worst enemy with how he starts teams, with how he manages players, with how he communicates to fans. Clearly with how he communicates to players, because they're not getting your tactics. You can't, I'm trying to be respectful, but it's just cowardly from Unai Emery. Unai Emery does play football like a coward. He talks about chameleon teams. We're never on the front foot regardless of teams. He doesn't think about what our team can do to oppositions. And I don't necessarily not like the fact that he likes to think about the opposition. But there needs to be balance. We've gone from Wenger, who thought too much about what his team can do and disregarded the opposition, to this guy. Like, he might as well not have a football team. Emery has shown he's not a top 6 manager. Him and Brendan Rodgers, prospectively, should swap jobs. I say that because at least Rodgers would recognise he's at Arsenal, needs to be on the front foot. Emery is the perfect manager for the underdog teams, where they're expected to be chameleons or not expected to get results. He buckles under pressure time and time again. And I told people these tactics are questioning, but they told me give him time. It's not his players, it's this, that and the other. And all of this tosh. It don't make no sense. You could see it was not as white and black as saying when he gets his players, because there's no blueprint to what he's trying to do. He's trying to do everything but nothing. He's trying to make us defending. He's trying to make us attack, but he's not doing enough. How he has been here, before he even took the job, people, everybody under Nan knew where Arsenal go wrong. We've got the strikers, but where we go wrong, the underlying factor is how we defend. Away from home, games where we shouldn't concede, just dumb goals. Anything, the underlying factor is defensively. You should have known the first thing I come in, I've got to improve that. How do you manage to have a worse away record? I know we had the poor record in Seville, but how do you manage to have that? We had video analytics and all of these things, and he's flattered to deceive. When you get past the people were so excited with the breath of fresh air and the excitement and the charisma, they seen it. I mean, I don't want to call him a fraud because he's won 3 Europa Leagues in his managerial career, but he is an Arsenal fraud right now. Like, I want him to get it right, but he's nothing short of a failure. He's been failing. On one hand, you can say he had a successful first year. He got to the Europa League and just missed out by a point. But just as much as the players were to blame last season, Emery effed about with tactics for no reason. The final, the players were atrocious, but so was the tactics. Emery's his own worst enemy. How many times have you seen his substitutions ruin games? It didn't happen. We managed to ruin it on our own records on yesterday. But against Watford, against Palace last year, we have been atrocious all season. The only convincing performance you could say we had is to a degree the Spurs game. Maybe to a degree the United game in some elements. But we've been poor home and away, really and truly. There's only been a handful of times since Emery's been here we've played convincingly. And people shut up about the lack of shot statistics, for instance. And people said, oh, we're more precise, man. We're having 9 shots, but we're scoring more than we was under Wenger. Brother, if we're shooting less, if we're facing more shots, if we're not creating, the statistics and the eyes test should confirm this is mad scary, bruv. Like this, he is almost the most un-Arsenal candidate, people. I don't want to sit here and say we should have went for Arteta, because I was on Arteta, but at the same time, let's be honest, you can never get confirmations in football, but Emery's managerial history and just the experience, because of how we was as a club and we needed a safe pair of hands, that's probably where the club went. Potentially, if we went for a more radical change, it could have been different. I think Emery relished it, because only now people are asking questions of him. He went from PSG, where he's heavily scrutinised, to now Before, people were saying the players, the fans, the time, the this, despite the signs always being there with this guy, people. The signs were there. We hid behind all of these things, and I think he relished that. I still think he relishes that, because to a degree, yes, we're talking about Emery, myself included, people, but you're talking about the Chambers penalty, you're talking about Xhaka, Ozil's not even in the match squad, you're talking about Ozil and creativity, you're talking about Ceballos. I'm not saying don't talk about these, but ultimately there's one common factor, and that's Unai Emery, people. That game against Palace was atrocious. It was superb by Arsenal standards. We scored 2 goals in the first 10 minutes, people. I thought, yo, we're here to do something different. Like, Arsenal never started the first half well, let alone the first 10 minutes. It looks like we're smelling blood. 2-0 up, foot off the gas, enjoying ourselves too much. They get 2-1 before half-time. You can guarantee in the Palace dressing room, they said, listen, we've been atrocious. It's 2-1. This is Arsenal. We've been here before, and they've come to our place, and we've got something out of this game. We can do something. And you saw the reaction. When Arsenal, pardon my language, we went down the piss, bruv. What happened? What is said at half-time? What is said with the... Forget the manager for a sec. What did the players say to each other? Yo, listen... We could have probably got a third or a fourth. We could have smelt blood. We didn't. It's 2-1. Let's go out there. Let's manage the game. Let's press for a third, but let's not be stupid. Let's remember it's a dangerous lead. As you know, 2-0 is a dangerous lead. And the fact that it took about 10 to 12 minutes for the equaliser to come off the back of shambles defending and half chances by Palace shows me a lot of these players, on top of the manager, are just not good enough, or just haven't got the minerals and the seasonings to offer this club getting top 4. This is a mad fight, people. These players and this manager, after every game and in the week, they talk about what they need to do. Bouncing back. It's put up or shut up. It's put up or shut up. I don't feel these guys badly want to get top 4 to the fact where it consumes them. They can't sleep at night and things. Where we've seen that before with teams that have won titles at this club. They're not doing that. I don't feel these players are all behind them right now. I've seen it now. If fans are questioning it, the players don't live in a bubble. They have to be questioning it. Some of these tactics, when Torreira's not in, Aubameyang's out wide, Ceballos is more or less playing as a left mid, playing out from the back with no intention, there has to be question marks coming from that dressing room. And if you lose that dressing room, it's gone even more. It's ridiculous, people. It's ridiculous, man. We deserve to lose that game, and it feels like a loss, despite the fact it was a draw. Yes, VAR done us dirty and all of these sort of things, and people could have taken chances, but forget harping on about that. We lost this game, like many, because of ourselves. We make games harder for ourselves, more so than we need to. And let's get on to Granit Xhaka. Granit Xhaka, strip him of captaincy, never play for this club again. Do I feel Xhaka is entirely wrong in his reaction? Of course not. No one can hold their hands up and say they ain't done nothing. And I think this goes to show there's a fine line between constructive criticism and damn right scapegoating. And I have to say, fans that do that are a disgrace. Even with Mustafi, to a degree. There was games he never played, people got onto him. Mesut Ozil the same. There was times even Guendouzi gets it. Fans need to, this is why I say use the eye test, especially with social media and some other YouTubers and things like that. They want to get clout off of being sensationalized and stuff. Like you're seeing, I was on AFTV, you're seeing people chant, I'm there, people are chanting, what do you think of Xhaka? Shit, what do you think of shit, Xhaka? That might be true, but what's all this? What's all this? You have pushed Xhaka, you have pushed him, you have got onto him on social media, you have sent abuse to his pregnant wife, he has pundits getting at him, he's got fans booing him, and he wasn't the worst player on the field. He didn't deserve it yesterday. Admittedly, he got jeered first, and as he took long, he got booed, is what I saw in it. I wasn't involved in none of that. I can't take nothing away. If you paid your money and that's how you feel, you want to boo him, I don't agree with it, but you do that, innit? You do what helps you. But fans are disgraceful. You've pushed the man, he's obviously going to react. The man is human, no matter how much of a professional footballer. And fans are soft. You can't be telling a man to fuck off and he tells you to fuck off back and you're crying. Who do you think you are? Are you the queen? Is this a dictatorship? Just because you pay your money don't mean you can treat people like shit. It doesn't make sense. He's going to react. Obviously, he could have reacted in a different way, but I would have reacted like him with the cups and stuff. Where I was sitting, it looked like he threw the shirt, people. So I was even more mad at him. I've seen that he's held it in his hand. So he's not wrong in reacting, but at the same time, you're a professional footballer. Forget the fans, forget the club. Your manager, the one person whose opinion it matters, that does it, it's more or less you against the world, word to Tupac, me against the world and that. He's put faith in you, and you're not running off they need to get a result after bottling a 2-goal lead, and you're not running off the field for them. The manager who plays you and made you captain, the players who you train with day in, day out, and you're the leader of men because you're the captain, you're not fighting for them. The men in the trenches with you, the men that are fighting criticism with you, the men that are fighting personal comments with you. We are brothers in arms at this fucking club, people. We win, lose and fucking draw together, and it pees me off when people do things like that. It pees me off when fans do things like that. We need to all be together. I'm not saying don't ask questions, but it's toxic. How can we... I just want to be able to focus on the football, people. I've spoken about the performance, but what have you've seen me talk about several points that are irrelevant to this team, and it annoys me. And Xhaka should never play for this club and should be stripped of his captaincy, people. But at the same time, some fans have to look themselves in the mirror and think, yo, what am I doing? Because sometimes there's a fine line. Constructive criticism is fine. Voicing your opinion is fine. But there needs to be balance. There's a fine line between constructive criticism and damn right scapegoating. Man, I've been on Xhaka for weeks. Xhaka has got it from all angles. And to be fair, for whatever you say about him, he hasn't reacted for time. But it's like a volcano. Everyone's got a breaking point. I don't agree with it. He would never play for my club again if I was in charge or had any decisions to make. But... he's allowed to react, man. He shouldn't be captained in the first place. He shouldn't be a regular in the first place. But fans have got to look close and deep to home, people. Because pardon my language, there's a lot of fucking virgins at Arsenal, man, that carry on stupid, man. And it pees me off, man. It pees me off. It pees me off. Arsenal fans are becoming toxic. When you've got... I'm not saying don't chant Ozil's thing. Ozil's chant, people. It's becoming toxic and the club are bringing on a lot of it themselves. Just come out and say Ozil is not involved because the manager wants to move him on, the board want to move him on. That's right. Don't be giving little dribs and drabs. 1 minute the young players are training harder, then the next minute Ozil's training hard. Don't. Because Emery, again, it's the board clearly supporting Emery, but Emery's going to be the fall guy. Do you think a new manager could come in and use Ozil and the board can shut up about it? It's Emery's sword he's going to die on. Emery, you need to fix up. You need to look deep at home. And I'm looking at you on the touchline. I don't see anything from you to suggest you look like someone feeling the pressure based on what I saw, people. Credit to Palace, man. I don't even think people are saying Zaha was the best player on the field. I don't feel anyone was amazing. I don't feel Zaha was amazing at all, having been at the game, really. We played into their hands, man. We lost this game through no fault of our own, through no fault other than our own. So Arsenal have to look close to home. From a possible 6 points. 6 points this week. You've taken 1. You don't want top 4. You don't want top 4. You can tell me and you can come out and say you want top 4. You don't want top 4. You don't. Because you wouldn't know. If you lose, you lose. I have no problem losing to the better men. But did we play like a team that deserved to get anything from Sheffield? No. Apart from the opening 10 minutes, 15 against Palace, did we play like it? No. And that tells me the players cannot hack it. You can't play for the shirt. Forget the shirt. You can't play for yourselves, people. Go back to 04. We had teams winning the league. So and Layman want to kick lumps at each other after winning a league title. That is, I'm not saying you need to do that because we're a long way away from that. But that's the sort of professionalism we need. They are dying for their careers. They were dying to win trophies. They were dying to get the best results because they wanted that. These players don't want to do that. You don't. Because what he said the week before, people, honest to God, what he said in the week to these 3 games in a week with Sheffield, the Europa League and this, what the hell he said, people? What he said. The manager can say what he said, but what's said in the group of players? Boy, we haven't played convincingly this season. We've been a bit iffy. We've got a big test. We've got Palace who beat us last year on Sunday. We've got Sheffield who many people don't expect us to get anything from. Let's prove people wrong. Let's put in a consistent performance. You prove people right against Sheffield. Toothless to be nice. Against Palace, we all knew Palace would get something out of the game, but Arsenal fans can be forgiven for thinking it was going to be a different game burst in that 10 minutes. And you let yourselves down. We win, lose and draw together. And there's not been too many occasions where any players in these games can leave the field knowing, saying, I gave it my all. I played as good as I can. They probably will. I don't want to see no one get the day off today on Monday. Them and they need to be doing analysis and doing tactical training, doing a light session in terms of positioning and where you should be on the field. I don't know. Let Lombard dick. Emery's shown he's clearly not the guy for structure, people. Clearly, Emery was called pragmatic. You can say he is pragmatic. He's a coward, people. He's bland and he's a coward. Let's be honest. I love Emery. I want him to do well, but he's a bland coward right now. People called him pragmatic because he plays 3 centre mids and he constantly gets scared of the opposition. He's not. If you're a pragmatic manager, you're a decent defensive manager. Emery's not that. Emery's not decent offensively. The only exception is Aubameyang's probably clouding the ratings and statistics with his goals. But Emery is not the coach for this club. He's a good underdog coach. He's shown he isn't the coach. Today, things can change, but today on the 28th of October 2019, I've got no faith in Emery. I'm going to support him, I'm going to support the boys, but I've got no faith anymore in regards to top four. I've got no faith in regards to him being the long-term manager for this people, because he's shown that he's there's no building blocks. Rome wasn't built in a day, but I'm not seeing no bricks, no scaffolding. I'm not seeing no labourers on the building site. I'm not seeing no sort of plan to suggest what we're trying to do moving forward. So I almost thought I have to call fans, quite frankly, stupid for all them fans that were sitting there going, yeah, when Holding's back, when Tierney's here, when Bellerin's there. Obviously these players are better players, so they'll make a difference. But there's no structure defensively. Van Dijk could come in this defence and it will still look calam. Obviously he's a world-class centre-half. He will show that. But there's no positioning. Do you think Van Dijk could defend as good as he can if Trent Arnold and Robertson couldn't shuffle across? Or if Matip wasn't playing decent? Arsenal fans need to stop looking at, in all positions, all over the field, one man or one set of individuals to change everything when it's a fucking philosophy. This team is going to kill me, people. Man. This team is going to kill me. But let's move on from Arsenal, man. I've said what I needed to say. I want to hear Xhaka's come out and said sorry and never captains this team again. He needs to be given a fine and he needs to never play for this team, at least for the next few weeks and whatever. Realistically, Emery's going to throw him back into the team next week. I'll be surprised if he doesn't, to be fair. And to be fair, Emery, you're in a dangerous position, because I feel this Xhaka situation will say more about you than the Ozil one. If you're captain, fair enough, defend him and whatnot. But if he can come out and behave like that, and you're going to play him every week now, on top of him just not putting in good performances and probably questioning him already, what does that tell you to the fans? On a more scary vibe, what would that tell me as a player? If I'm Lucas Torreira and I haven't played, for example, and Xhaka's been in poor form and carried on like that, and I'm not playing, what's that going to say? What's that going to say to the other captains? Because Aubameyang didn't look too happy with him, with how he's carrying on. What's that going to say if he gets away with it? There's clearly, because of the way we're playing, no one can tell me there's not discontent within this team. I don't know that for a fact, but there's clearly discontent. And it's going to build and build, and it's looking like another toxic ending, people. And there is I don't know, people. Let's just shut up about Emery now. It costs 6 million to clip him. It costs 45 if we don't get Champions League. Aubameyang and Lacazette, if I was either player, I would not be signing a new contract, to be honest, at this moment in time. Because you never know what could happen, people. So let's move on from Arsenal, man.